Pradakshina Pade Pade Vrindai Tulsi Deviyai Priyayai Keshavasya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Devi Satyavakti Namo Namaha Vrindadevi Tulsi Maharani Jai Shri Sorry? And devotee has
Can I read for you, man? So what should I read? Where should I read from?
7 chapter read me?
जहाँ पे भी वाला So Maharaj, I'm reading from Mathilila chapter 7, Lord's Tour to South India, text 108. Yes, Bhagwan. Page 100 shloka. Reading from there. Okay. Text 100. Translation. Each of these empowered persons would return to his own village, always chanting the holy name of Krishna and sometimes laughing, crying and dancing. Text 101. Translation. Such an empowered person would request everyone and anyone, whomever he saw, to chant the holy name of Krishna. In this way, all the villagers would also become devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. In order to become an empowered preacher, one must be favored by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or his devotee, the spiritual master. One must also request everyone to chant the Mahamantra. In this way, such a person can convert others to Vaishnavism, showing them how to become pure devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 102. Translation. People from different villages who came to see such an empowered individual would become like him simply by seeing him and receiving the mercy of his glance. Text 103. Translation. When each of these newly empowered individuals returned to his own village, he also converted the villagers into devotees. And when others came from different villages to see him, they also were converted. Text 104. Translation. In this way, as empowered men went from one village to another, all the people of South India became devotees. Text 105. Translation. Thus, many hundreds of people became Vaishnavas when they passed the Lord on the way and were embraced by him. Text 106. Translation. In whatever village Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed to accept alms, many people came to see him. Text 107. Translation. By the mercy of the Supreme Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all these persons became first-class devotees. Later, they became teachers or spiritual masters and liberated the entire world. Text 108. Text 107 again. By the mercy of the Supreme Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all these persons became first-class devotees, and later they became teachers or spiritual masters and liberated the entire world. Next, 108. In this way, the Lord went to the extreme southern part of India and he converted all the provinces to Vaishnavism. Text 109. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not manifest his spiritual potencies at Navadvip, but he did manifest them in South India and liberated all the people there. Purport. At that time, there were many smartas, which are non-devotee followers of Vedic rituals, at the holy place of Navadvip, which was also the birthplace of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Followers of Smriti Shastra are called smartas. Most of them are non-devotees, and their main business is following the Brahminical principles strictly. However, they are not enlightened in devotional service. In Navadvip, all the learned scholars are followers of Smriti Shastra, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not attempt to convert them. Therefore, the author has remarked that the spiritual potency Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not manifest at Navadvip was by his grace manifested in South India. Thus, everyone there became a Vaishnava. By this, it is to be understood that people are really interested in preaching in a favorable situation. If the candidates for conversion are too disturbing, a paid preacher may not attempt to spread Krishna consciousness amongst them. It is best to go where the situation is more favorable. This Krishna consciousness movement was first attempted in India. But people of India, being absorbed in political thoughts, did not take to it. They were entranced by the political leaders. We prefer, therefore, to come to the West, following the order of our spiritual master, and by the grace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this movement is becoming successful. Text 110. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's empowering of others can be understood only by one who is actually a devotee of the Lord and who has received his mercy. Text 111. If one does not believe in the uncommon transcendental pastimes of the Lord, he is vanquished both in this world and in the next. Text 112. Whatever I have stated about the beginning of the Lord's tour should also be understood to hold for as long as the Lord toured South India. Text 113. When Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to the holy place known as Kurma Kshetra, he saw the deity and offered prayers and obeisances. Kurma Sthan is a well-known place of pilgrimage. There is a temple there of Kurmadev. In the Prapannamrita, it is said that Lord Jagannath took Sri Ramanujacharya from Jagannath Puri and one night threw him to Kurma Kshetra. Kurma Kshetra is situated on the line of Southern Railway in India. One has to go to the railway station known as Chikakola Road, and from this station one goes 8 miles to the east to reach the holy place known as Kurmash. Those who speak the Telugu language consider this holy place very important. The statement is reported in the government gazette known as Ganjaman Manual. There is a deity of Kurma there, and as mentioned above, Srila Ramanujacharya was thrown from Jagannath Puri to this place. At that time, he thought that the deity of Kurma was Lord Shiva's deity. Therefore, he was fasting there. Later, when he understood that the Kurma Murti was another form of Lord Vishnu, he instituted very gorgeous worship of Lord Kurma. This statement is found in Prapannamrita chapter 36. The holy place of Kurmashetra or Kurmasthana was actually established by Sripad Ramanujacharya under the influence of Jagannath Dev at Jagannath Puri. Later, the temple came under the jurisdiction of the king of Vijayanagar. The deity was worshipped by the Vaishnavas of Madhvacharya Sampradaya. In the temple, there are some inscriptions said to be written by Sri Narahari Tirtha, who was in the disciplic succession of Madhvacharya. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains those inscriptions as follows. First, Sri Purushottam Yati appeared as the instructor of many learned men. He was very favorite devotee of Lord Vishnu. Second, his preaching was accepted throughout the world with great respect, and by his power, he liberated many non-devotees with strong reason and logic. Third, he imitated Ananda Tirtha and converted many foolish men to accepted sannyasa and punished them with his rod. Fourth, all his writings and words are very potent. He gave people devotional service to Lord Vishnu so they could be elevated to liberation in the spiritual world. Fifth, his instructions in devotional service were able to elevate any man to the lotus feet of the Lord. Sixth, Narahari Tirtha was also initiated by him and became the ruler of Kalinga province. Seventh, Narahari Tirtha fought with the Savaras, who were Chandalas or hunters, and thus saved the temple of Kurma. Eighth, Narahari Tirtha was very religious and a powerful king. Ninth, he died in Shaka era 1203 in the month of Vaishakh, in the fortnight of the moon's waxing period on the day of Ekadashi. After the temple was constructed and dedicated to the holy name of Yogananda Narasimhadev. The tablet is dated 1281 AD, 29th March, on a Saturday. Text 115. While at this place, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in his usual ecstasy of love of Godhead and was laughing, crying, dancing, and chanting. Everyone who saw him was astonished. Text 115. After hearing these wonderful occurrences, everyone came to see him there. And when they saw the beauty of the Lord and his ecstatic condition, they were all struck with wonder. Text 116. Just by seeing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everyone became a devotee. They began to chant Krishna and Hari and all the holy names. They all were merged in a great ecstasy of love, and they began to dance, raising their arms. Text 117. Always hearing them chant the holy names of Lord Krishna, the residents of all other villages also became Vaishnavas. Text 118. By hearing the holy name of Krishna, the entire country became Vaishnava. It was as if the nectar of the holy name of Krishna overflooded the entire country. Text 119. After some time, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu manifested his external consciousness, a priest of the Lord Kurma deity gave him various offerings. Text 120. Text 119 again. Louder. After some time, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu manifested his external consciousness, a priest of Lord Kurma deity gave him various offerings. Text 120. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mode of preaching has already been explained, and I shall not repeat the explanations. In whichever village the Lord entered, his behavior was the same. Text 121. In one village, there was a Vedic Brahmin named Kurma. He invited Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his home with great respect and devotion. Text 122. This Brahmin brought Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his home, washed his lotus feet, and with his family members drank that water. Text 123. With great affection and respect, that Kurma Brahman made Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eat all kinds of food. After that, the remnants were shared by all the members of the family. Text 124. The Brahmana then began to pray, O my Lord, your lotus feet are meditated upon by Lord Brahma, and these very lotus feet have come into my home. Text 125. My dear Lord, there is no limit to my great fortune. It cannot be described. Today, my family, birth, and riches have all been glorified. Text 126. The Brahmana begged Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, my dear Lord, kindly show me the favor and let me go with you. I can no longer tolerate the waves of misery caused by materialistic purport. This statement is applicable for everyone, regardless of how rich or prosperous one may be. Narottam Das Thakur has confirmed this statement. Sansara Vishanale Diva Nishi Hiya Jale. He states that the materialistic way of life causes a burning in the heart. One cannot make any provisions for the troublesome life of the material world. It is a fact that one may be very happy as far as the riches are concerned, and one may be very opulent in every respect. Yet, one has to manage the Vishayas to meet the demands of the body and of so many family members and subordinates. One has to take so much trouble to minister to others. Narottam Das Thakur therefore prays, Vishaya Chhariya Kabe Shuddha Habe Man. One must become freed from the materialistic way of life. One has to merge himself in the ocean of transcendental bliss. In other words, one cannot relish transcendental bliss without being freed from the materialistic way of life. It appears that the Brahmana named Kurma was materially very happy, for he expressed his family tradition as Janma Kuladhana. Now, being glorious, he wanted to leave all these material opulences. He wanted to travel with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. According to the Vedic way of civilization, one should leave his family after attaining 50 years of age and go to the forest of Vrindavan to devote the rest of his life to the service of the Lord. Text 127. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, don't speak like that again. Better to remain at home and chant the holy name of Krishna always. It is not advisable in this age of grief to leave one's family suddenly, for people are not trained as proper brahmacharis and grihasthas. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised the Brahmana not to be too eager to give up family life. It would be better to remain with his family and try to become purified by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra regularly under the direction of a spiritual master. This is the instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If this principle is followed by everyone, there is no need to accept sannyas. In the next verse, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advises everyone to become an ideal householder by offenselessly chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and teaching the same principle to everyone he meets. Text 28. Instruct everyone to follow the orders of Lord Shri Krishna as they are given in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, become a spiritual master and try to liberate everyone in this land. Purport. This is the sublime mission of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Many people come and inquire whether they have to give up family life to join the society. But that is not our mission. One can remain comfortably in his residence. We simply request everyone to chant the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If one is a little literate and can read Bhagavad Gita as it is, and Srimad Bhagavatam, that is so much the better. These works are now available in an English translation and are done very authoritatively to appeal to all classes of men. Instead of living engrossed in material activities, people throughout the world should take advantage of this movement and chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra at home with their families. One should also refrain from sinful activities, illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. Out of these 4 items, illicit sex is very sinful. Every person must get married. Every woman especially must get married. If the women outnumber the men, some men can accept more than one wife. In that way, there will be no prostitution in the society. If men can marry more than one wife, illicit sex life will be stopped. One can also produce many nice preparations to offer to Krishna: grains, fruit, flowers, and milk. Why should one indulge in unnecessary meat eating and maintain horrible slaughterhouses? What is the use of smoking and drinking tea and coffee? People are already intoxicated by material enjoyment, and if they indulge in further intoxication, what chance is there for self-realization? Similarly, one should not partake in gambling and unnecessarily agitate the mind. The real purpose of human life is to attain the spiritual platform and return to Godhead. That is the summum bonum of spiritual realization. The Krishna consciousness movement is trying to elevate human society to the perfection of life by pursuing the method described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his advice to the Brahmana Kurma. That is, one should stay at home, chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and preach the instructions of Krishna as they are given in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Text 129. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu further advised the Brahman Kurma: if you follow this instruction, your materialistic life at home will not be obstructed by your spiritual advancement. Indeed, if you follow these regulative principles, we will again meet here, or rather, you will never lose my company. But this is an opportunity for everyone. If one simply follows the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu under the guidance of his representative and chants the Hare Krishna mantra, teaching everyone as far as possible the same principle, the contamination of the materialistic way of life will not even touch him. It does not matter whether one lives in a holy place like Vrindavan, Navadvip, or Jagannath Puri, or in the midst of European cities, where the materialistic way of life is very prominent. If a devotee follows the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he lives in the company of the Lord. Wherever he lives, he converts that place into Vrindavan and Navadvip. This means that the materialism cannot touch him. This is the secret of success for one advancing in Krishna consciousness. Text 130. At whosoever's house Sri Chaitanya accepts his alms by taking prasadam, he would convert the dwellers to his Sankirtan movement and advise them just as he advised the Brahmana named Kurma. The cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is explained very nicely. One who surrenders to him and is ready to follow him with heart and soul does not need to change his location, nor is it necessary for one to change his status. One may remain a householder, a medical practitioner, an engineer, or whatever. It does not matter. One only has to follow the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and instruct relatives and friends in the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. One has to learn humility and meekness at home, following the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In that way, one's life will be spiritually successful. One should not try to be an artificially advanced devotee, thinking, I am a first-class devotee. Such thinking should be avoided. It is best not to accept any disciples. One has to become purified at home by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and preaching the principles enunciated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thus, one can become a spiritual master and be freed from the contamination of material life. There are many Sahajiyas who decry the activities of the 6 Goswamis, Srila Rup, Sanatan, Raghunath Das, Bhatta Raghunath, Chief, and Gopal Bhatta Goswamis, who are the personal associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and who enlightened the society by writing books on devotional service. Similarly, Narottam Das Thakur accepted many thousands of disciples to induce them to render devotional service. However, there is a class of Sahajiyas who think that these activities are opposed to the principles of devotional service. Indeed, they consider such activities simply another phase of materialism. Thus, opposing the principles of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they commit offences at his lotus feet. They should better consider his instructions and instead of seeking to be considered humble and meek, should refrain from criticizing the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who engage in preaching. To protect his preachers, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given much clear advice in these verses of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Text 131 and 132. While on his tour, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would spend the night at a temple or on the roadside. Whenever he accepted food from a person, he would give him the same advice he gave the Brahman named Kurma. He adopted this process until he returned to Jagannath Puri from his South Indian tour. Text 133. Thus I have described the Lord's behavior elaborately in the case of Kurma. In this way, you will know Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dealings throughout South India. Text 134. Thus Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would remain at night in one place and next morning after bathing he would start again. Text 135. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left, the Brahmana Kurma followed him with him a great distance, but eventually Lord Chaitanya took care to send him back home. Text 136. There was also a Brahmana named Vasudev, who was a great person but was suffering from leprosy. Indeed, his body was filled with living worms. Text 137. Although suffering from leprosy, the Brahmana Vasudev was enlightened. As soon as one worm fell from his body, he would pick it up and place it back again in the same location. Text 138. Then one night, Vasudev heard of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's arrival. And in the morning, he came to see the Lord at the house of Kurma. 139. When the leper Vasudev came to Kurma's house to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was informed that the Lord has already left. The leper then fell to the ground unconscious. 140. When Vasudev, the leper Brahmana, was lamenting due to not being able to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord immediately returned to that spot and embraced him. 141. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu touched him, both the leprosy and his distress went to a distant place. Indeed, Vasudeva's body became very beautiful to his great happiness. 142. The Brahmana Vasudeva was astonished to behold the wonderful mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then he began to recite a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam touching the Lord's lotus feet. 143. He said, "Who am I? A simple poor friend of a Brahmana. And who is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full in 6 competences? Nonetheless, he has embraced me with his 2 arms." This verse was spoken by Sudama Brahman in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:81-16 in connection with his meeting with Lord Krishna. 144 and 145. The Brahman Vasudeva continued, "O my merciful Lord, such mercy is not possible for ordinary living entities. Such mercy can be found only in you. Upon seeing me, even a sinful person goes away due to my bad bodily order. Yet you have touched me. Such is the independent behavior of the Supreme Personality of Godhead." 146. Being meek and humble, the Brahman Vasudeva worried that he would become much proud after being cured by the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 147. To protect the Brahman, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised him to chant the Hare Krishna mantra incessantly. By doing so, he would never become unnecessarily proud. 148. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also advised Vasudeva to preach about Krishna and thus liberate the living entities. As a result, Krishna would very soon accept him as his devotee. Purport. Although Vasudeva Vipra was a leper and had suffered greatly, still, after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cured him, he instructed him to preach Krishna consciousness. Indeed, the only return the Lord wanted was that Vasudeva preach the instructions of Krishna and liberate all human beings. That is the process of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Each and every member of the society was rescued from a very abominable condition. But now they are engaged in preaching the cult of Krishna consciousness. They are not only cured of the disease called materialism, but also living a very happy life. Everyone accepts them as great devotees of Krishna, and their qualities are manifest in their very faces. If one wants to be recognized as a devotee by Krishna, he should take to preaching about it, following the advice of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then one will undoubtedly attain the lotus feet of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, the Lord Krishna himself, without delay. 149. After instructing Brahman Vasudeva in that way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disappeared from that place. Then the 2 Brahmanas, Kurma and Vasudeva, embraced each other and began to cry, remembering the transcendental qualities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. 150. Thus I have described how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reclaimed the leper Vasudeva and so received the name Vasudevamrita Prada. Purport. The name Vasudevamrita Prada is mentioned in the verses composed by Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya. 151. Thus I end my description to the beginning of the tour of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is visiting the temple of Kurma and is liberating the leper Brahman Vasudeva. 152. One who hears these pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with great faith will surely very soon attain the lotus feet of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, when a person actually revives his consciousness with thoughts of Krishna, by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he revives his spiritual life and becomes addicted to the service of the Lord. Only then can he act as an acharya. In other words, everyone should engage in preaching, following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this way, one will be very much appreciated by Lord Krishna and will quickly be recognized by him. Actually, a a devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu must engage in preaching in order to increase the followers of the Lord. By thus preaching actual Vedic knowledge all over the world, one will benefit all mankind. 153. I admit that I do not know the beginning or the end of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime. However, whatever I have written, I have heard from the mouths of great personalities. 154. O devotees, please do not consider my offenses in this regard. Your lotus feet are my only shelter. 155. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Guru, that ends the chapter. Should I continue to the next chapter? Chapter 8. Talk between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramanand Rai. The summary of 8th chapter is given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Prabha Bhasya. After visiting the temple of Jyada Narsingha, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the banks of the river Godavari to a place known as Vidyanagar. When Srila Ramananda Rai went there to take his bath, they met. After introducing himself, Sri Ramananda Rai requested Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to remain in the village for some days. Honoring his request, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed there in the home of some Vedic Brahmanas. In the evening, Srila Ramananda Rai used to come to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ramananda Rai, who was clothed in ordinary dress, offered the Lord respectful obeisances. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu questioned him on the object and the process of worship, and also asked him to recite verses from the Vedic literature. First of all, Srila Ramananda Rai enunciated the system of Varnashrama institution. He recited various verses about karma arpana, stating that everything should be dedicated to the Lord. He then spoke of detached action, knowledge mixed with devotional service, and finally the spontaneous loving service of the Lord. After hearing Srila Ramananda Rai recite some verses, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the principle of pure devotional service, devoid of all kinds of speculation. After this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Rai to explain the higher platform of devotional service. Then Srila Ramananda Rai explained the unalloyed devotional service, love of Godhead, and serving the Lord in the moods of pure servitude, fraternity, and parental love. Finally, he spoke of the serving the Lord in conjugal love. He then spoke of how conjugal love can be developed in various ways. This conjugal love attains its highest perfection in Srimati Radharani's love for Krishna. He next described the position of Srimati Radharani and the transcendental mellows of love of Godhead. Srila Ramananda Rai then recited a verse of his own concerning the platform of ecstatic vision, technically called Prema Vilasa Vivarta. Srila Ramananda Rai also explained that all stages of conjugal love can be attained through the mercy of the residents of Vrindavan, especially by the mercy of the gopis. All these subject matters were thus vividly described. Gradually, Ramananda Rai could understand the position of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited his real form, Ramananda Rai fell unconscious. After some days, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Rai to retire from government service and come to Jagannath Puri. And these descriptions of the meetings between Ramananda Rai and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are taken from the notebook of Swarupa Damodar Goswami. Text 1. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is known as Gauranga, is the ocean of all conclusive knowledge in devotional service. he empowered Sri Raman Rai, who may be likened to a cloud of devotional service. This cloud was filled with water of all the conclusive purpose of devotional service and was empowered by the ocean to spread this water over the sea of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Thus, the ocean of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became filled with the jewels of knowledge of pure devotional service. All glories, text 2, all glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Acharya, and all glories to the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 3. According to his previous program, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went forward on his tour and after some days arrived at the place of pilgrimage known as Jiyada Narsingha. The Jiyada Narsingha temple is situated on the top of a hill about 5 miles away from Vishakhapatnam. There is a railway station on the Southern Indian Railway known as Simhachal, and the temple known as Simhachal is the best temple in the vicinity of Vishakhapatnam. This temple is very affluent and is a typical example of the architecture of the area. On one stone tablet, it is mentioned that formerly a queen covered the deity with a golden plate, and this is mentioned in the Vishakhapatnam Gazetteer. About the temple, there are residential quarters for the priests and devotees. Indeed, at present moment, there are many residential quarters to accommodate visiting devotees. The original deity is situated within the depths of the temple, but there is another deity, a duplicate known as Vijayamurti, and the smaller deity is removed from the temple and taken on public processions. Priests who generally belong to the Brahmanaja Sampradaya are in the charge of deity worship. Text 4. Upon seeing the deity of Lord Narsingha in the temple, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered his respectful obeisances. Then, in ecstatic love, he performed various dances, chanted, and offered prayers. 5. All glories to Narsingha. All glories to Narsingha, who is the Lord of Prahlad Maharaj, and like a honeybee, is always engaged in beholding the lotus face of the goddess of fortune. Purport. The goddess of fortune is always embraced by Lord Nrsimhadev. This is mentioned in the commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, written by the great commentator Srila Sridhar Swami. The following verse was composed by Sridhar Swami in his commentary on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. 1087.1 Vag isha yasya vadane lakshmi yasya cha vakshasi yashyaste hridaya samavit tam narsingham aham bhaje. Lord Nrsimhadev is always assisted by Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and he is always embraced by the goddess of fortune to his chest. The Lord is always complete in knowledge within himself. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto Nrsimhadev. Similarly, in his commentary on the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Swami described Lord Nrsimhadev in this way: Prahlada Hridayaladam Bhakta Vidya Vidaranam Sharad Induruchim Vande Parindra Vadanam Harim. Let me offer my obeisances unto Lord Nrsimhadev, who is always enlightening Prahlad Maharaj within his heart, and who always kills the nations that attacks the devotees. His mercy is distributed like moonshine, and his face is like that of a lion. Let me offer my obeisances unto him again and again. 6. Although very ferocious, the lioness is very kind to her cubs. Similarly, although very ferocious to non-devotees like Hiranyakashipu, Lord Nrsimhadev is very, very soft and kind to devotees like Prahlad Maharaj. Purport. This verse was composed by Sridhar Swami in his commentary on the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 7.9.1. 7. In this way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited different verses from the Shastra. The priest of Lord Nrsimhadev then brought garlands and remnants of Lord's food and offered them to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. 8. As usual, yes, Guru, we are doing a big fest coming Sunday morning.
ऊपर चले गए हाँ जी ऊपर गए थे टाइम हो गया 7 बज आया खाली आरती भी कर लेते हो call me? Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Gotra Sita Bhagavan Krishna Swami Upada Sasaya Kalashvati Chakram Kirtan Sata Bhagavat Padaya Te Nanuman Vishnu. शारदानलनिधलोकाशानाय कारुण्यघनाघनन्तं तत्त्वकल्याणगुणानवश्य वन्दे गुरुश्रीचरणरविन्दं महाप्रभो कीर्तनमितगीता विक्रमादन्मनसुरसेना समांसिकं पार्थतरङ्गभाजो वन्दे गुरुश्रीचरणरविन्दं श्रीविग्रहाराधननित्यनाना श्रीनारकन्मन्दिरमार्जनादो युक्तस्य भक्तांशन्मन्यतोऽपि वन्दे गुरुश्रीचरणरविन्दं चतुर्विधा श्रीभगवत्प्रसादो साधनकृष्णान् हरिभक्तसङ्घान् कृष्णैवतीष्ठिं भजता सदैव वन्दे गुरुश्रीचरणरविन्दं श्रीराधिका माधव्योरपर माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्ना प्रतिष्ठनलोलुपस्य वन्दे गुरुश्रीचरणरविन्दं निकुञ्जयुनोरतिशैलिसिद्धे यायादिभेर्योक्तिरपेक्षणीया तत्रादिदाक्षातते वल्लभश्च वन्दे गुरुश्रीचरणरविन्दं प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादान्नगति कुतोऽपि नयं सुवस्तस्य यशस्वि सन्ध्यं वन्दे गुरुश्रीचरणरविन्दं नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणि प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादिने असत्यविष्टारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री गदाधर शिवसदि गौरभक्तवृन्द जय विराज बाबा की जय जय विराज प्रहलाद लाद दाई गया काशी पूर्वक्षः तिलकंका नखालाए कितो नरसिंह परतो नरसिंह यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंह बाये नरसिंह हृदये नरसिंह नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे अभयकरकमलावरे नखमदभूतसिंहं दलितारण्यकशिपो तनूभिः केशवधिता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे ॐ उग्रं विग्रं महाविष्णुं ज्वलन्तं सर्वतोमुखं नरसिंहं भीषणं भद्रं मृत्युं नमाम्यहम् उग्रं विग्रं महाविष्णुं ज्वलन्तं सर्वतोमुखं नरसिंहं भीषणं भद्रं मृत्युं नमाम्यहम् जय नरसिंह जय 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 श्री नरसिंह गाये तुलसी गाये नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो तुम्हार शरणागत करवांता पूर्ण होय। कृपा करी कर तरे वृंदावन वास मुरई अभिला। जय जय श्री जय श्री कृष्ण। गिरिराज धरन हम तेरी शरण, गिरिराज धरन हम तेरी शरण, गिरिराज धरन तेरी शरण। गिरिराज धरन तेरी शरण, गिरिराज धरन